You can feel it, can't you? Something isn't right. She's still there, smiling, speaking, sleeping beside you, but the connection is gone. Not loudly, quietly, like a candle that doesn't flicker, just fades. And you keep telling yourself it's nothing, that it's just a phase, that if you wait long enough, the warmth will come back. But deep down, you know the truth, she's already leaving. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally. She's halfway gone. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern. And for the Stoic man, recognizing the pattern is the first step toward peace. In this video, we're not here to create suspicion. We're here to bring clarity, to expose the quiet signs of emotional betrayal, to reveal the shifts in behavior that so many men ignore until it's too late. Because cheating doesn't always begin with another man. Sometimes it begins with a woman who stops looking at you the way she used to and starts looking elsewhere, even if only in her mind. If you've ever felt the unease in your gut but couldn't explain it, you're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're not weak. Welcome to Stoic Focus, where we don't run from the truth. We study it, we face it, and we rise above it. Part 1. The Silent Drift, the first sign of betrayal. Let's begin with what most men miss, not because they're blind, but because they still believe. Betrayal rarely kicks down the front door. It tiptoes in, quiet and polite, and starts rearranging the furniture of your daily life before you even realize something's off. One day, the laughter feels rehearsed. The next, her "I'm fine" feels like it's been copy-pasted from yesterday. She's still there. Same bed, same kitchen, same routine. But something invisible has left the room. A Stoic doesn't panic. He observes. When a woman begins to detach emotionally, the first thing to vanish isn't her body. It's her presence. She still smiles. Yes, but that smile no longer reaches her eyes. She still asks you how your day was, but her attention is elsewhere. She listens like someone checking off a list, not someone who's curious. And you feel it not in your mind, but in your gut. That deep sense that something once warm is now lukewarm. That you're being tolerated, not treasured. A Stoic man understands that emotions are messengers, not masters. So when his heart whispers, "She's drifting," he doesn't ignore it. He doesn't accuse. He watches, he studies. Because the truth is, this emotional betrayal begins long before physical cheating ever happens. It starts in the smile that no longer shines, in the kiss that feels like a habit, in the good night that feels like a business transaction. She might say she's just tired, that work is stressful, that she needs space. Those words may even be true, but they're not the whole truth. A woman who's emotionally committed doesn't ration affection. She doesn't smile like a stranger in an elevator. She doesn't disappear in plain sight. So what does a Stoic do? He doesn't cling. He doesn't beg. He honors what he sees. Because the first principle of Stoicism is to face reality, no matter how uncomfortable, to accept what is, not what you wish it to be. You can't love someone back into staying present. You can only meet them where they are or decide to walk away with dignity if they refuse to meet you at all. And so, when her spirit leaves, even as her body remains, the Stoic man does not chase shadows. He lets go of the illusion and starts choosing clarity over comfort. Part 2. Hidden in plain sight. When distance becomes a shield. After the warmth begins to fade, something more subtle sets in silence, but not the kind that soothes. This silence is calculated, selective, strategic. You used to know everything: her thoughts, her frustrations, her quirky daydreams, the kind of small, forgettable things people only share with someone they trust deeply. But now, those little windows begin to close, not all at once, just enough to let the cold seep in. She still speaks, yes, but only when it's safe, when the topic can't cut too deep, when the narrative fits the image she's trying to protect. This is not openness, it's control. And soon, it becomes obvious that the things she used to volunteer are now guarded. She talks less about her feelings, more about needing time, needing peace, or going through something. But you're not invited into that process anymore. You're outside the door she used to leave open. A Stoic man sees the shift not with emotion, but with presence. He doesn't demand access. He simply notices the locks where there used to be none. Then comes the phone, the new fortress. It's always nearby, face down, locked tight, notifications silenced. Her thumbs move quickly, but her eyes dodge yours. You didn't ask for her password, and you haven't accused her of anything. Still, you're made to feel like the villain for noticing a pattern. She says you're paranoid, controlling, insecure. But you're not. You're observant. Because a Stoic understands a simple truth: love that's real has nothing to hide. If affection is honest, it won't fear visibility. If loyalty is true, it won't need shields or excuses. Privacy is healthy, secrecy is not. The Stoic doesn't barge in. He doesn't argue over passwords or demand transparency. He watches for contrast, the difference between who she used to be and who she's becoming. Open, now closed; expressive, now evasive; comforting, now cautious. This isn't growth, it's withdrawal. And concealment, especially emotional concealment, always has a motive. It's not about being private, it's about removing you from parts of her life she used to let you into. The Stoic doesn't react with rage, he responds with recognition. He knows that when someone is hiding in plain sight, it means the truth has become dangerous. And when love has to be protected from the light, it's no longer love, it's a performance. So, what does he do? He doesn't interrogate. He detaches, not from her, but from the illusion. Because nothing wastes more of a man's strength than trying to hold on to a version of someone that no longer exists. Part 3. When her body stays, but her soul leaves. There comes a moment in every fading relationship when the physical closeness remains, but the emotional intimacy vanishes. You still share a bed, you still kiss each other goodnight, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a ritual, something you're both doing out of habit, not desire. You lie next to her, but it's like there's a wall between your bodies. She turns away more often. She doesn't reach for you like she used to. Or worse, she initiates intimacy, but it feels off, too intense, too precise, as if she's following a script, as if she's performing, not connecting. And in those moments, you can't help but ask yourself, what changed? A Stoic man doesn't seek comfort in lies. He faces the hard truth. True intimacy cannot exist when one's soul has already checked out. When a woman gives her emotional energy to someone else, what's left for you is rationed, mechanical, hollow. You feel it in every touch that used to be warm, but now feels like obligation. In every embrace that used to linger, but now ends too quickly. She may tell you you're being too sensitive, that she's just tired, that your suspicions are unfair, but your instincts aren't broken. They're just inconvenient for her. You see, real connection is not about frequency, it's about presence. You can have sex every night and still feel alone if the other person isn't emotionally there. The body can go through the motions while the heart is 1,000 miles away. And that's exactly what you're feeling, disconnection in disguise. The Stoic man pays attention to the energy. He listens not to the words, but to the silence between them. He notices how the rhythm between you has changed, how the language of love, the small gestures, the softness in her voice, the lingering looks has gone silent. He doesn't blame her, he doesn't beg, but he doesn't ignore it either. Because denying what you know deep down only leads to more pain later. In the face of fading intimacy, the Stoic man doesn't lash out. He reflects. He asks, am I honoring my truth? Or am I staying silent to avoid the storm? Am I loving someone who has already left the room? And most of all, he remembers this: you cannot build a future with someone who is already emotionally absent at the present. So he chooses clarity over confusion, dignity over desperation, and presence over performance. Because when love becomes a show, the curtain always falls, and the man who stayed honest with himself will be the one standing with peace when it does. Part 4. Conflict as camouflage, when guilt turns into blame. She starts fights over nothing. You forgot to text her back once, and now you're accused of not caring. You left a dish in the sink, and suddenly you're never listening. You answer a question simply, and she reads disrespect in your tone. At first, you try to fix it. You apologize, even when you don't understand what you did wrong. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you missed something, but deep down, you know these arguments aren't really about dishes or texts or tone. They're about something else, something she's not saying. What she's really fighting is her own guilt. When someone has crossed emotional lines or is even thinking about it, they need space. And sometimes the only way to create that space without admitting fault is to make you the problem. If you're the cold one, the inattentive one, the bad communicator, then her betrayal isn't betrayal, it's self-care, it's escape, it's survival. A Stoic man doesn't get dragged into the drama, he doesn't fall for the smokescreen. He steps back and sees the pattern. This isn't communication, it's camouflage. It's an attempt to shift the moral weight of the situation, to turn attention away from her choices and onto your supposed failures. She convinces herself first, then she tries to convince you that you've changed, that you're too much, that you don't understand her anymore. And if you're not careful, you'll believe it. You'll start to shrink, to explain yourself, to play defense in a battle you didn't start. And all the while, she's writing a new version of the story, one where she's the hero for walking away. and you're the villain that made her do it. But a Stoic man doesn't argue with fantasy. He doesn't beg for fairness from someone rewriting reality. He sees the emotional manipulation for what it is, a tactic to ease her own conscience. He knows when a woman has already justified the exit, and now she just needs the excuse. So, what does he do? He stops playing. He steps away from the accusations. He protects his peace. He refuses to carry guilt that isn't his. Because when someone starts creating conflict without cause, it's not about healing the relationship. It's about destroying the evidence of their own disloyalty. And in that moment, the most powerful move a man can make isn't to fight harder. It's to stop fighting altogether, not out of weakness, but out of strength, not because he doesn't care, but because he refuses to betray himself in order to keep someone who has already left him emotionally. He doesn't need closure. He needs clarity. And he knows when a woman uses conflict as a cover, she's not trying to solve anything. She's already preparing to leave. Part 5. The Future Without You. When plans turn into solo journeys. This is the quietest sign of all, but also the most painful. There are no fights, no slammed doors, just small edits to the life you once imagined together. She used to talk about us, places you'd go, things you'd build, dreams you'd chase together. Now, she only says, I've been thinking of moving. I want to focus on myself. I need to grow. Her language shifts, and your name quietly disappears from the script. Most men overlook this stage because it doesn't feel dramatic. There's no explosion, but it's a slow erasure. You stop being included in future plans. Your voice is no longer needed when decisions are made. She doesn't ask what you think about that trip anymore. She books it. She doesn't wonder aloud about the future of your relationship. She avoids it. And when you bring it up, when you ask if she still sees a future with you, she might smile and say, "You're overthinking." She might even kiss you and say, "Of course I do." But there is no weight in her words, no warmth, just enough sugar to keep you from tasting the truth. A Stoic man doesn't argue with that kind of silence. He pays attention. Because when a person starts building a future without you, they've already left in their mind, maybe not physically, not yet, but emotionally. They've stepped out, and every day they stay. They're not staying for love, they're staying for comfort, for stability, or to make the transition easier for themselves. The Stoic doesn't beg for re-entry into a future where he's no longer welcome. He doesn't try to force himself back into plans that have already been redrawn. He sees the shift. He respects the pattern. And he lets go, not in bitterness, but in clarity. Because he knows that clinging to someone who's mentally preparing to leave only delays the inevitable and costs him more of himself in the process. He knows that love isn't just presence, it's participation. And when someone stops including you, they've stopped investing in us. The most dangerous thing a man can do in this phase is to wait, to hope, to stay silent and convince himself that things will go back to how they were. They won't. She's not confused. She's rehearsing. Every solo decision, every withdrawn we, every skipped conversation, it's all part of the exit strategy. The Stoic doesn't chase. He doesn't plead. He doesn't sit in rooms where he's being emotionally replaced. He walks out with dignity before he's pushed out by indifference. Because the only thing worse than being left is staying when you've already been left behind. Part 6. The Stoic Response. Letting go with dignity. Cheating doesn't begin with a kiss. It doesn't start with a hotel room, a secret message, or a stranger's name. It begins in the silence, in the moment she starts rationing affection, in the shift from connection to convenience, in the quiet retreat you feel but can't explain. That's where it begins, when she emotionally exits but leaves her body behind to maintain appearances. Most men call it a phase. They tell themselves she's stressed, that she just needs time, that it will pass. But a Stoic knows better. A Stoic man doesn't drown in denial. He listens not just with his ears, but with his gut. He knows that the body doesn't lie. And when the energy changes, it's because something beneath the surface has shifted. She may say, "I'm just tired," but you feel the difference. She may say, "I still love you," but her actions no longer echo those words. She may promise a future, but quietly. She's already rehearsing life without you. The Stoic doesn't chase ghosts. He doesn't beg for love that must be demanded. He doesn't argue with energy that's already gone. Because once you start convincing yourself to accept less than you deserve, you lose more than just the relationship, you lose your self-respect. This is where clarity becomes your compass. Clarity isn't always comfortable. In fact, it's often painful. But pain is not the enemy. Confusion is. And the longer you remain confused, the more you drift from who you truly are. That's why the Stoic doesn't fight to stay in something that's already hollow. He doesn't play the villain in someone else's story just to justify their departure. Instead, he accepts the truth. If she had to betray you to find herself, she was never truly yours. If she needed to rewrite history to justify her exit, then her commitment was already fading long before you noticed. And if she no longer sees you in her future, it's not your job to beg for space in her story. So, what does a Stoic man do? He honors the ending with grace, with composure, with unwavering self-respect. He doesn't slam doors. He doesn't hurl insults. He simply walks quietly, purposefully. While she still thinks she's in control, he reclaims his, not because he doesn't feel, but because he refuses to be consumed by what he cannot change. He knows that peace isn't found in trying to fix someone else's betrayal. Peace is found in refusing to betray yourself. So, if this has been speaking to something deep within you, if you've been pretending not to see the signs, hoping they'll go away, this is your invitation to stop waiting. Choose clarity. Choose dignity. Choose yourself. Because in the end, it's not about who stayed the longest. It's about who stayed honest with the truth, with the signs, and with their own worth.